Hello everyone and welcome back to the English Support Podcast. My name is Kieran and today I am joined by Brenda, our Wellbeing Manager here at the Elizabeth School of London. Now, Brenda is originally from Northern Ireland. She has run her own businesses, she's a certified life and mindset coach, and she now supports students with everything from managing stress to building confidence. So Brenda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kieran, and welcome everybody.
All right. Okay, so I'm sure this is going to be a great podcast today. I've been looking forward to it. All right. So to get us started then, Brenda, could you tell us a little bit about your role as Wellbeing Manager here at Elizabeth School of London and what kind of support you offer to our students?
Oh, I will indeed. So, my name is Brenda Shankey. I'm the Wellbeing Manager for Elizabeth School of London, and that means I look after the wellbeing of all students and staff in all of our campuses. So we have 8 campuses throughout all of the UK. You're there currently in Manchester. I'm currently in London. In each campus, Kieran, we have a wellbeing officer, and the wellbeing officer's job is to support students during their studies. And the support that we offer comes in very many different ways. But to clarify a little more, all of the wellbeing officers would have a master's in psychology or behavioural science. And the main role of a wellbeing officer is to support with times of mental unwellness, times of people needing emotional support. They would be doing coaching sessions, they would be doing life coaching exercises, and for me in particular, to help support during times of trauma or unexpected times of distress while at university or college. Now that would mean when we sign up for a 3 or 4 year session or course, we don't know what's going to happen in those 3 or 4 years. So I have experienced things like family members passing away, people getting divorced, people having domestic violence issues, people having developed a mental health issue or have an episode of depression, or their anxiety escalates, or their confidence just drops and they develop more and more and more pressure and overwhelm and anxiety. So our job is to support, and I like to think of it as in the wellbeing room, it's a home from home place. We have tea, we have sweets, we have biscuits, and it's a space where you enter that no one will judge you. We are here to listen. We are here only for the support and the greater good of the student. So we are there to devise a care plan, maybe to escalate your care plan to help you get extra support with your GP, to refer you to outsourced services like other counsellors or mental health professionals, or in-house if you had a disability or a learning need. We would refer you to our additional needs tutors. For example, if you had ADHD or dyslexia, or you needed support with your English language or your exam submissions, we would be that, I'm going to say, that homely, mothering, caring role where we help you with whatever requirement you need.
Well, yeah, that sounds incredibly useful in such a wide variety of different things that you can support with. So I guess on behalf of our students here, I just have to say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, you know what? We love what we do. And I remember being at uni myself, and, or we've all been at college, and it's lovely just to have a room or somewhere where you can go and just be yourself and say, this is how I'm feeling. I'm struggling today. I'm not understanding what's going on. I'm having a bad day. I'm having family issues. My relative has passed away and I really need help and support. I want us to be known for whatever you need to do or offload, that the wellbeing team are there to help you.
That sounds really wonderful. Thanks for that. Now, moving on to something that I touched on in the introduction. So you are from Northern Ireland. Hopefully some of our students have noticed, have heard it. So what was it like growing up in Northern Ireland? And do you feel that this has shaped your approach to well-being or how you communicate with others?
Wow, interesting question. Okay, so I'm from Northern Ireland and I'm from a city called Derry. And Derry City is, again, it's well known. There's a TV series called The Derry Girls, which made it
Of
quite
course.
famous. Yes. I grew up in the Troubles, and the Troubles in Northern Ireland are very famous. So that is conflict between two religions, the Catholics and the Protestants. And to be honest, I think being Irish has made me very suited to well-being because I was taught by my parents that we shouldn't judge another person based on religion. We shouldn't judge another person based on how they've been brought up, and that fighting isn't always the best way to solve issues of conflict. And I guess I did see a lot of bombs going off. I walked through streets that were lined with soldiers and army and police, and I saw how people were treated differently just because they had a religious attachment, and that's how they were brought up. It's very frightening to watch and witness as a child growing up and to see that. So I guess a lot of people today would say, I don't judge anyone because at the end of the day, no matter how we've been brought up or what religion we've been born into, that doesn't define the person that we truly are.
That's very profound points there, Brenda, definitely. To have a slight change in tone now, because you are from Northern Ireland and you have been living in mainland Britain for a while now. Do people ever find it difficult actually understanding your accent?
Yes, I've had to slow down a lot. So if you notice now how I speak very clearly and slowly, because the Irish speak really quickly.
Yeah.
And really fast. When I came in the beginning, people used to look at me and I could see by their face that they didn't have a clue what I was saying. So I noticed that, yes, I did need to be really mindful that when I was speaking to British people, I had to really slow down how I was speaking. And like everything else, it then became a natural way of speaking.
Oh, well, I think I can say I understood every word you said there, and hopefully all of our listeners can feel the same way as well. Um, but Northern Ireland is also famous for its culture, its vocabulary, its dialect, things like that. So, do you think there is a phrase or a word or something like that that is unique to Northern Ireland that you think would be useful or fun for everyday conversation?
Well, look, there's one that I used to say all the time when I moved to the UK, and I got really strange looks. So Irish people are very funny, and we have our own dialect, as does every culture.
Yeah.
But there was a word. So if you meet someone, so say I met you today.
Yeah.
In Ireland, we would say to you, "What's the crack, Kieran?" Now, the word crack in the UK means drugs.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
what's crack cocaine? So I would say to people in Britain, "Oh my God, what's the crack?" Which means, "How's your day going? How's your life? What's going on in your story?" And I used to get the weirdest looks because it's spelt Craic, and that was a very famous saying that I had to stop saying. But when I go back home and I meet someone, I go, "How are you? What's the crack?"
yeah.
It's really bizarre to say over here.
Uh-huh. And yeah, I guess you've got to be careful. You'd probably not say that if there was any police walking around. They may get a bit suspicious. Yeah.
So funny. And, I guess every country has their own dialect phrases. Yeah, and then when you meet people from home, you feel connected because you go, "Oh, they understand me. I feel safe."
Well, I expect after this podcast goes out, maybe we'll start hearing it more and more on campus. It would be great if that were true.
Oh, bless. We do have to laugh more.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
that's a sure thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, education is a very serious thing, but for every serious thing in the world, there's always an opportunity to laugh and joke as well.
I will tell you, it's the best thing for your well-being is to
Mm.
laugh more.
Hmm.
We've
Yes.
got to laugh more and not take ourselves so seriously. And I definitely, my best medicine is have more fun.
All right, and I'm sure everybody's having a bit of fun listening to this podcast today. You know? Um, we've already established then that you are the well-being manager here, but also, I mean, this is something that will be of interest to our business and management students. You also ran your own businesses in the past, so can you tell us a little bit of how that came about and what you took away from those experiences that have helped you in your role today?
Wonderfully, yes. So actually, I was talking to my staff today. So I am currently 54 of age, and why I'm telling my age is because it will give you a hindsight into the experience that I've had. But half of my life, career-wise, has been in education. The other half has been in business. So to be a manager is managing people. And in 2012 in Northern Ireland, I won Businesswoman of the Year. And my first career was I was a hairdresser, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I started off as a hairdresser, and long story short, I married a hairdresser. And we built this brilliant, I'm going to call it empire because that's what it was. My husband and I were a great business duo, and we built an empire of 5 hairdressing salons. 4 were in Northern Ireland and 1 was in London. And then we built an online business where we had our own product range. And our product range was a male grooming line of skincare. And it was in premium stores like Harrods, Selfridges, House of Fraser, as well as selling online. So why I won Businesswoman of the Year is because we grew this very small barber shop back in Northern Ireland from zero to a turnover of £5 million within I lived in £1 million house. I had the lovely cars. I had the great lifestyle. And I guess I was a workaholic at that stage. But what I'm going to tell you is the two of us had the great opposites of something that made a great business relationship. You know, I ran the staff and I looked after the salons and I did the marketing and the PR. I also obviously worked as a hairdresser. My husband, he was a hairdresser too, but then he did the business part. He did the finances. He did the books. He designed the website. So together we had this great little recipe for great business. And because we both loved what we did eat, sleep, breathe, and repeat business. And I think being a wellbeing manager today, working with people and learning to manage people, which is what you do every day if you are if you're in a role of facing people, you're always working with people. But what I will say is the greatest tool that I have learned in my life is how to respect people and how to act with kindness, words, be of service, and deliver the best that you can deliver in your field of expertise. And when you're an expert in something and you show up and you love doing what you do, it's never, you never get tired of doing that. But managing people, I think, is the key to a great business success.
And just to pick up on something you said there about you had your own businesses, so you're eating, sleeping, dreaming about business. I guess there is some kind of connection there to like learning a language, because if you're going to get better at it, you have to completely immerse yourself in it, surround yourself with it. So on the other hand, though, learning a second language or learning in a second language can be quite stressful. You know, you've come to Britain from another country, you're here at ESL, and you're having to study in English. So how do you think that can affect a student's confidence or mental health in your experience?
I have to say, first of all, to all of the students, a massive well done. To be learning a degree in an institution where it's a second language is an absolute massive challenge. And I think for me, the secret is to be patient and to listen. And if you're focused on achieving, you need to hear and understand what's being taught. And to do that, I believe the art of mindfulness and patience is something that really could help you along the way of progressing, and not getting stressed or pressurized. And I see so many students before a presentation, for example, and they have to deliver to the class, and they go into the greatest panic because they're afraid of saying the wrong word. They're afraid of being misunderstood. They're afraid of their language sounding not good enough. And instead of thinking, I'm so proud of myself for being here, I'm so proud of coming to a different country, I'm really grateful that I get to study in a second language, and actually everybody here is on the same boat. So instead of being nervous about English being your second language, just be grateful that it's actually a power that you have, that I don't know a second language.
Yeah.
And I would love language as something that I've never been able to pick up. I actually think it's very admirable that someone would study in a second language. So instead of being afraid of presenting, instead of being worried about saying the wrong words, just change the narrative to yourself and say, do you know what? I'm actually amazing for being here. I'm proud of myself that I'm studying in my second language, and I might not always get it right, but at least I'm trying.
Exactly. Because I think you said it, and I would agree. I can't even imagine being able to study in a higher education in another language. It seems not just years away, but decades away before I'd be able to do it. So I think that's a very good point. Thinking more generally now about well-being, what could be some of the signs that a student might be struggling? Maybe they don't know it themselves. Maybe they definitely don't say it directly, but what could be the signs that they are struggling a little bit?
I'm going to say the most obvious one, and I'm going to say this with love. The biggest sign is people become isolated. People don't know they're struggling, so therefore they don't ask for help. And that could be that they start to not show up for attendance. They start to not hand in assignments. They start to maybe appear very overstressed and very overworried about assignments. And I always say, when you look behind the behavior, you see the story. So the story is, if there's something going on in your life that's overwhelming, if you have, I'm going to say financial debt, if you've struggles, if you're trying to juggle education with a full-time job and children, you might get overwhelmed. Everything might just be getting too much. If you feel like you're becoming very irritable quickly, if you're maybe crying more, or if you just don't feel quite right. The body always tells the signs. And I would advise everyone, every student, if you don't feel like yourself, if you don't feel calm and in flow and just enjoying the experience, just ask yourself, is everything okay with me? Would I get guidance by just talking to someone? Because sometimes things like depression or anxiety, or I'm going to say disorders, they creep up and we don't even realize that we have developed because we're unaware ourselves. And I'm going to say, in our education system, also the cultural definition of mental health can be very different. So someone might be struggling from really deep depression or grief, and maybe their culture doesn't allow them to speak out about that. Therefore, they don't speak out because they have shame or guilt, or they feel unworthy, or they feel something is wrong with them because they feel incomplete. And again, they don't ask for help. Where actually, the minute you ask one of the wellbeing team for help, all of your stress just reduces a little. You suddenly win an army of support and helpers, and you have someone outside of your family, outside of your academics, your lectures, outside of your friendship group, that could maybe give you the building blocks you need to get you through.
So obviously, if they are feeling like they are in that situation, they could should come and see the wellbeing officer on the campus, but do you think there are any other kind of simple or practical things that students could do to look after their well-being, especially when it comes to those busy times, you know, you need assignments, you've got exams coming up. What could they do to look after their well-being?
I'm going to say, in all of my experience, the greatest tool that you can have to look after your own well-being is breathing. To do some gentle breathing exercises, to listen to maybe 5 minutes a day, and we call it self-regulation, emotional regulation. We call it the nervous system reset. But if you could listen to a YouTube video on meditation, or a YouTube video on breathing exercises, or a motivational video of affirmations or empowerment language once a day, absolute results are outstanding. But I would definitely recommend sitting, just listening to your breath for a couple of minutes every day and just connecting in and feel the power that you have to just reset the nervous system and bring you into a state of calm and control.
I hope our listeners are going to pause the video just at this moment and they're going to carry out what you've just said, do some little breathing exercises, recenter themselves, things like that. I do have kind of a connected question then. What would you say to a student who feels like they don't really, in quotation marks, belong in a higher education institution, or they're kind of struggling to find their place here at Elizabeth School of London?
You see, I think everybody belongs.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
There is always a way through. You just got to find the way for you. And education, at my stage in life, education has always been my survival tool. It has always got me through. And having that, if you want to do something and you want to achieve, then you belong. Allow yourself the space to just go and do what you want to do to make the best life for you. And not only that, the power of education is it makes you feel worthy because you have achieved something. You feel more intelligent, therefore you feel more confident. And when you achieve something difficult, then you realize that life is always achievable, but it is how you perceive it that makes the difference.
Exactly.
So, yes, I would always say, I can do this. Sometimes I just need to find the way for me, and it might be different than everybody else's way.
Very good. I guess to some extent that has been the story of your life as well. You know, you've been a business owner, you are the well-being manager now, you've been a life and mindset coach. So what has helped you to really stay resilient all the way through these big life changes?
I'm going to say my story is not without conflict, and that is why I found resilience, because from very early on, I had depression when my son was born, and I had the shock of feeling in my body what real clinical depression was. And when I had to learn, and I say the word learn, it's like 22 years ago, this depression after childbirth came into my body. I literally had to relearn how to live. And I had to learn the value of each day. I had to learn that my mind was very important to me and that I didn't think like everybody else. So I had to understand me to learn to survive. I had to find out my way through because we're all different. So learning about yourself and how you work and who you are, that became my power, and not comparing myself to anyone else.
Yeah, this is one of the most dangerous things we could ever do, is compare ourselves to others. Like, why am I not as good as him? Well, because you're not that person. You know, you're a completely different person with a completely different life story, and all you can do is seek to improve yourself rather than to kind of match the image of somebody else. I think that's a very profound point there. Connected to that then is the idea of self-talk, the way that we speak to ourselves. So How important do you think that is when it comes to well-being and confidence and things like that?
You've hit me now where in my passion zone. So, due to the depression, Kieran, I realized that my self-talk was very negative. So, I started therapy 22 years ago, and I went to see a cognitive behavioral therapist, and my GP recommended this because I used to be so horrible to myself in my own self-talk, and I didn't realize it was a thing that I could change. So I did 2 years of behavioral therapy as a patient, I'm going to say. And the 2 years with this therapist absolutely changed my life beyond belief. I didn't realize that, first of all, that my thoughts were negative weren't real, and that second, that my negative thoughts I could change. So after that, being Brenda, I went on to study and I became a mindfulness-based behavioral therapist, because I wanted to teach people that any negative mindset that you have, you do not need to listen to the negative voice. It's only a thought. And you have the power to change the narrative. And that's what I do in my life coaching and my mindset coaching. Because once you learn that you, as a person, have control over your mind, you become unstoppable.
Hey, that sounds great. And obviously, it's a very complex situation, trying to rewire your own brain to have more positive thoughts and more positive actions. But if you could suggest maybe one mindset shift that might help our students to feel more confident and feel more supported, what would that be, do you think?
Okay, I'm going to tell you the best statement that always shifts my mindset. So, naturally, we say, what if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if I can't do it? What if I mess up? I want you to change the narrative to what if it all goes right?
Yeah, it's such a simple way, but such a huge change in your way of thinking.
Yeah. So I'd say, what if it all works out? What if it's amazing? What if I pass? What if it's fun? What if I learn? What if I grow? What if I be the best of me? So I change. Now, the what if I fail, and all those statements will always come up. No one is exempt from negative thoughts. But as soon as you catch the thought, say, what if it's okay? What if I learn from this? What if I see it differently? What if it all works out? Game changer.
We can't control those negative things that happen in our lives. They sometimes they are beyond our control, but to some extent we have that ability to choose how we react to certain situations. And it can be hard, it can be difficult, it can even feel like it's impossible at some situations, but just by thinking about reacting in a positive way can make a huge difference. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah.
So it has been a wonderful conversation here with you, Brenda, and it's so sad that we'll have to finish soon. But before you go, I hope it's all right if I ask you some quick fire questions to end on. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, okay. So the first one is, what do you enjoy most about working with these students who are here from all over the world?
Oh, I just love meeting new people. I love everybody's different experiences of life. I love different cultures, mindsets, and ideas. I just love finding out about people and what makes them enjoy life, what makes them tick. It's exciting.
The next quick fire question is there a piece of advice that you always find yourself giving again and again and again?
Yes, okay, I'm going to say the best advice, the one advice that everybody needs more of is be patient. We'll all run out of patience really quickly, Kieran.
Yep.
You need to just slow down. We all live in a society where we want everything fixed yesterday. And one of the greatest advice things I got in business was this: slow down to succeed. When you have patience, your body is calm, you think differently, you're rational, you behave differently, you go with the flow, you accept what is. So everything works out easier if you're patient and you slow down.
Well, I hope everybody's listening to that one in this fast-paced world.
I know.
Um, well, on a connected point, do you have a favorite way you like to take a break or you like to
Yeah, I do you know what? I practice what I preach.
Okay.
I meditate every single day, and I have a morning routine that I always stand by. So I get up at 6:30 and I have 30 minutes to myself. And in the 30 minutes, I do 10-minute meditation and I focus on my intentions for today. And I always work on my mindset in the morning with today's going to be a good day. Thank you for another day. Lots of gratitude. Then I take a half an hour in the evening and I just breathe. I sit in stillness. I offload from the busy day and maybe all the chaos in the mind or the emails I didn't send or the conversation. I try to regulate my nervous system in the evening so I can have a nice evening. I do that every day and it really helps me in this fast-paced world.
Well, that is a good point, and we're talking there about relaxing, unwinding, things like that. But the next question is almost the opposite of that. In fact, it's about stimulation. So if you come into work, you're early there in the morning. Are you a tea or a coffee person?
Oh, I love a coffee in the morning. I love a coffee or two, Kieran.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I do. I take two coffees every morning. I love one as soon as I come into work and then one about an hour earlier.
And then
And
that
then,
just
then
sets you up for the rest of the day.
I have a tea in the evening. I love a matcha tea at night time. I love that.
Okay. But you're not going decaffeinated, are you?
No, I need the energy for this workload.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I know just how busy you are, and I have to say thank you for finding the time to join me today, Brenda. It has been great. Thank you for sharing all of your advice with us, and I'm sure that our listeners, our students, will really benefit from hearing from your perspective today.
Well, good luck, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Brenda. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kieran. Bye.
Bye.